Hello everyone, you are welcome to today's tutorial as well. As today we'll be diving into SQL for data analysis. If today is your first time joining us, I will encourage you to subscribe to the channel and share the link with your friends so they can also join. Okay, so we want to look at some introduction to SQL. Some call it SQL, whilst others call it SQL. They are the same. So let's look at some introduction. So the first thing that we want to look at is that we want to introduction to SQL. We say that SQL is a structured query language. Okay? It's a structured query language, and it's a programming language used for managing and manipulating database. So all that we are looking at over here is that how we can manipulate database. When we have a given database, as a data analyst or data scientist or any programmer or website developer, we will always have to fetch certain kind of data from database. So it's good you know how to work or manipulate this database. And one of the languages used is the SQL. So we say that SQL is a structured query language. It's a programming language used for managing and manipulating databases. Okay. It enables users to retrieve, insert, update, and delete data, making it invaluable for data analysis, application development, and many more. SQL is an essential skill in today's data-driven world, helping users effectively communicate with databases. So for you to be able to communicate with database, you need to know how to serve as an intermediate between the database and then the user. Because for you to be able to manage the database, for you to be able to work with the database, you need an intermediate, which that is something have to be between you and the database for you to be able to manipulate or communicate with your database. And this is what we call the database management system. Okay, it serves as a bridge between the database and the user of that database, so that the user can be able to store data in the database, retrieve the data stored, or update the data stored in the database. Okay, now we have popular databases. These include MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQL Server. All of these are designed to make data handling simpler and more efficient. Okay, these database management systems, they are all designed so that we can be able to handle or manage data more effectively in a database. Types of databases. There are two main types of database. We have two main types of database. We have the relational database and no relational database. Okay, so one of the the two main databases are such that one is has a relation with whatever that is being stored in it. They are related to each other. They have a relation. There is a relationship. But the other one, it has no relation. So we say that we categorize these databases into two broad areas. So the first one is relational databases. The relational databases organize data into tables with rows and columns. Ideal for structured data. So when you have a data that is in a structured format, okay, that is, we have table with rows and columns. This particular data, so it's such that they have a relation. So they are organized, or they are organized data sets, so that you won't have much difficulties working with. Now, it's not about only difficulties, but we also have the non-relational database, and this non-relational database, they don't have these kind of tables, so we call them no SQL. They are not SQL. They don't have the relationship. That is, there is no organized format. It doesn't have any organized format of data. Okay, and example of this database includes the Cassandra, the MongoDB, and so forth. Okay, so the two databases that we have, they are the relational database and non-relational database. In this course, we are looking at, we will focus on the relational database, that is the SQL. We will look at the relational database, the SQL. Basics of database, or basic database concepts. A database consists of several core components that work together to make, or to store, organize, retrieve, and manage data. We have the several core components of a database that helps in the storage of the data, the organization of the data, the retrieving of the data, and then the management of the data as well. And some of these are we have the table, the rows, the column, the primary key, the foreign key, the indexes, and so forth. Now, the table is a collection of related data organized in rows and columns in the database. That is, the collection of related data organized, the data is being organized in rows and columns. And then we have a row. A row is just a single data entry. And then the column is a specific data attributes within the row. So that is the column. And then the primary key. Now, the primary key, you can see the primary key as a unique key to maybe your room, a unique key to your room. So it's like, it's an unique identifier, or a unique ID. Yes, let me put it that way. You can see it as a unique ID, okay, for identifying each row in a table. So when we have a table with so many rows, for you to be able to identify each of the rows, we have the primary key that is being assigned to them. So if you have like 5 rows, a primary key could be like number 1, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. That is, 1 is being assigned to row 1, 2 is being assigned to row 2, 3 is being assigned to row 3, and so forth. So those 1, 2, 3 becomes a unique identifier, such that when you pick that one, it's unique to all others. The thing that is unique to all other rows is that particular thing. So that is the primary key. And then the foreign key is just a key to, let's say, a particular column in one table, linking to the primary key in another table. So if you have 2 tables, one of the table may have something that is being linked to the primary key in table 2. The column that is being linked to the primary key in table 2 becomes the foreign key. Okay, so that is the foreign key too. And then we have the indexes. The indexes is the speed up data retriever and improve query performance. Okay, so that is the speed, how we retrieve data, the speed up data retriever. Okay, so that is about the index 2. Why do you have to learn SQL? Okay, why do you have to learn SQL? We say that SQL is the standard language for interacting with relational databases. So when we have a relational database, the standard language for interacting with this relational database is the SQL. Okay, so just as I said earlier on, we have two databases. We have the relational database and non-relational database. The standard language for interacting with the relational database is the SQL. Okay, and it's widely used in industries like tech, financial industries, healthcare, and more. So as a data analyst, knowing how to use your SQL skills or knowing how to program in SQL would help you to be able to work with so many data, because there are sometimes your work that will be given to you, you need to retrieve data from some of these relational databases before you can use. And being able to know how to work with SQL will help you to be able to retrieve the data easily. Now, the next one is that we say learning SQL will allow you to retrieve, manipulate, and analyze data effectively. Okay, effectively or efficiently. So, when you know how to work with SQL, you can be able to retrieve data from any database. You can be able to manipulate data. You can also be able to analyze data from a database when you are given a task where you need to access your data from a database. So knowing how to SQL, knowing how to program in SQL, it's very important. As a data analyst, you have to be able to know how to retrieve and manipulate data from a database. The next one is that as data-driven decision making grows, SQL skills open numerous opportunities in the job market and provide essential capabilities for data management and analysis. Nowadays, when you take 7 out of 10 data analyst role or job, you will see that 7 out of them would require the SQL, knowing how to work with SQL. When you take 10 job opening, a data analyst job opening, you notice that out of the 10, at least 7 would be one of the required skills in the 10 would be 7. 7 out of the 10 would require you to know how to work with SQL. Okay, when you take 10 job opening, 7 out of the 10 will definitely ask you, one of the skills they will ask will be SQL. Now, let's look at the syntax, the SQL syntax. So the first step to working in SQL is to know how to program in the SQL. So we say that the foundation of SQL lies in its syntax, which enables communication with databases. So for you to be able to communicate with a database, you need to know how to speak its language. Okay, if you are in a foreign country, for you to be able to communicate with the people over there, you need to know how to communicate with those people. You need to know how to speak their language. So that is the same as SQL. For you to be able to interact with any database or communicate with any database, you need to know how to program in the SQL. You need to have to program in SQL. You need to know how to write simple queries to communicate, to tell them, oh, this is what I want, this is what I want. You need to know how to write its language. Okay, and you see that mastering basic commands like select, insert, update, and delete will give you a solid start. So this is what we are looking at. We'll explore some of these functions so that we know how to communicate with our databases. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's just go straight to that. So just as we all know how to install our SQL. Now, once that you are done, I believe by now everybody is having their MySQL Workbench. So let's just open it straightforward and see the interfaces. So once you open your MySQL Workbench, it will say, welcome to MySQL Workbench. Now we have already created the connection. So once the connection is there, all that you need to do is that just need to double click this one. Just need to double click here to open the workspace for you. All right. So now we are in our MySQL Workbench. Okay. So a quick explanation of the overview over here. Now, when you look at the first page over here, this is the query where you'll be writing all your queries. Okay, this is where you'll be writing all your queries. When you look at this side, the down over here, this you see output. This is where when you run any query, this is where you will see the output. This is where you will see your output. When you look at this particular place, this is your help menu where you can find documentations of any SQL that you want, any SQL command that you want, or clause that you don't understand. If you don't understand any particular command, you can just quickly come here and then you can search for all of them over here. So this is your help menu. Now we have the snippets over here. This one you will be seeing whilst you are working, you'll be seeing some feedbacks over there, some of the code snippets over there. So we won't be taking much time. Now, if you don't like this particular format, you can always change it from the top over here. As soon as I click here, it means that I want to clear away these ones, and you can bring it back again. Once you click on it, it will come back. The same thing, if I don't want to be seeing the output, I can just click on the middle one here so that the output will go away. If I also don't want the help menu, I can just click here and then it will go away so that I'll have enough space. Okay, but I want them. Now when you come to your left side, this is you will see your schema here. The schemas. Your schemas are your databases that you have created. Your schemas are your databases that you have created. So any database that you create, you will see it over here. And you have the administration where you can manage your SQL, anything that you want to do, you can do it over here. All right. Now, when you look at the top here, the menu over here, we have file, edit, view, and others. But the interest is at this point. The two over here, one is with the plus, and then one is with the folder. The plus is for opening a new tab for executing queries. If you want to open a new tab, for example, as soon as I click on it, it will open a new tab for me where I can write any query that I want to write. I can write it over here. All right. So, and then the second one is if you have any, if you already have any SQL database there, and then you want to go and open it, you can click over here. Once you click on it, it will open and show you. Then you go and select your database. Okay, so that is just a quick overview of the MySQL Workbench interface. All right, so we want to begin with simple queries, how we can be able to program in SQL. Now, the first thing that we want to learn is how can we create a database. Okay, we want to learn how to create a database. Let's see how we can create a database ourselves. So for us to create a database, what we will do is that we have the create database command. Okay, so what we are going to do is we just have to say create. So once you type create, then you add to it. Now, before let me make this clear. SQL is not case sensitive, so you can write in small letters and capital letters and still run it and it will work. So, however, I would always prefer that when you are writing the keywords, you put all of them in caps so that all the other words that you are using will be in small letters. So that is the format that you are going to use throughout. So I say create, then I'll type database. You see, when you start typing, it will appear. You can just click on tab and then you auto complete it. But because I want all of them to be in caps, I won't click on that. I want to finish writing what I want to write. So database. So create database. And then once you click on create database, you type the name of the database that you want. You then type the name of the database that you want to create. So all that you need to do is just to type create database. Then you type the name of the database that you want. Okay, so let's assume that I want to create a database called me. Okay, so once I do this, I'll just end it with semicolon. As soon as I run it, it will create a new database for me. So just run it this way, and you can see from the output over here that it has checked, meaning that it is successful. Okay, now for me to know that I've created a database, what I need to do is I'll come here and refresh. As soon as I refresh in the schema, I will see my database that I created. This is me. So I've created my database here. Okay, so it means that I've created my database. Now let me use the database that I've created. For me to use the database that I've created, I have to select the database and use it. Okay, so what I'll do is that I'll use the use keyword. Okay, the use keyword, that is used because we have so many databases here. When you look over here, there are so many databases over here. So you can't just get up and start using it. You have to use it. You have to select the database that you want. Okay, so I said I will say use, and then I'll type the name of the database that I want to use. That is me, and then I'll close it with the. If you don't close it, it will still run. So, however, the semicolon is used to end a statement. That is, if you are ending the statement, it will end it for me. So once I use this thing, I can select it and run, or I can just leave it. If I leave the cursor here and I click on this run execute command over here, it will execute everything in the query over here. Okay, so if I want to execute only this one, all that I need to do is I just need to select this, and then I'll click on execute. As soon as I do that, you will see that that particular database will now be selected and become what? Black. It will select that database, and the tables and everything inside will now open. So this is showing that because it has selected, this is showing that this database is now in use. So anything I want to do, any command that I want to write, I can just write it, and then it will be operating in this particular database. So that is how we create and use database. Then we start writing any commands that you want to write. Now, you don't want to waste much time. Okay, I've already created a particular database that I want us to use. So what I will do is that go to the GitHub repo, the link in the description. Once you are in the link in the descriptions, once you are here, you open the link to the description. Okay, open this one. So when you open MySQL, you will see a text file that is practice file. So you will see a practice database. When you open this, you will see practice database. Download that text file and then open it. Okay, so it's a database I created that we will use for this practice. So I've already downloaded it, I've already have it. So once that you open it, this is what you see inside. Just copy it. I'll explain everything a bit. So just copy whatever you have in it. Just copy everything that you have in the practice database. Copy it, and then you come to your query. So when you come to your query editor, then you paste everything. Okay, so just paste everything. So just paste everything, and then let's go through one by one. Now, the first command that we see over here, is, I'm saying that the first command you can see is drop database if exists. what I'm doing over here is that I'm trying to tell MySQL that this is the name of my database that I want to create, DA store. Okay, I want to create a database called DA store. So I'm telling SQL that if this database, as a first command, if this database exists in my system, drop it. So remove it before you start any other thing. So SQL will now go to my schema to check the schema and then locate and see if that database, the name of that database exists. If it exists, it will drop it. Okay, so that's what SQL will do. It will drop it if it exists in the system. It will drop it before doing any other thing. Now, the second one is that after it finished dropping it, it's now going to say that, okay, now I want to create a new database with that name. Now, one thing is that if you don't put the first command here, if you don't put this particular command here, if the SQL realize that the name of that database exists, you will get an error because the name will. So because I don't want that particular conflict, I'm trying to tell my SQL that, okay, if that database exists in my schema or on my system, drop it. Then now the second one, I say, okay, now that you finish dropping, now create database with that name, that is DA store. Create that database for me. After you finish the creation of the database, I now say that, okay, now you finish creating the database. Now use that database, make that database active so that we can use it to do anything that we want to do. So that is what I'm doing over here. Okay, so right now I'm now using this particular database. So let's just run the top code here before we move on. We don't want to run everything, so I won't click on run. I'll select what I want to run. So I'll select only this one and run it. So you see that it will be active, that it's successful. You get a message as success. Now let me refresh. Just refresh your schema. So you can now see that dataset, the DA store has now been created. The DA store has now been created and it has selected as it's in use. That particular database is now in use because of this command, use DA store. So this command is now using this particular database. Okay, so the next thing that I will do is that we have created a database, but our database that we have created is an empty database. It's not having anything in it. Okay, it doesn't have any table, it doesn't have anything. It's just a raw database that we created. So we need to create new tables inside. We need to insert new tables inside. So with that, we start with one of the tables because it's a store data set or a store database. Some of the things that I want to put in will be products, customer, order, and other stuff. So the first thing I want to put in is the what do you call it? The products, the product that we are selling. Okay, so I want to put the product inside. Now here I will say create table. I'll use the keyword create table. I'm creating a table inside the database. I'm creating a first table inside the database, and you can see that I'm putting those words in quotes. I'm putting them in quotes. So create the data, this particular database, and it's in quotes, products. And I'm assigning how the database will interact. So some of the things that I want to see in my database, okay, the unique names that I want to, or what I want to see in my database, the columns that I want to see. These are the columns name. So you can see the first one is the product ID. Okay, the first one, I'm saying that, okay, create a product ID column for me. The second one, I'm saying that create name column for me. The third one is create quantity in stock column. And the fourth one, create unit price column. Okay, and I'm setting that, as I said earlier on, I'm setting my primary key to be the product ID. I'm saying that, okay, after you finish creating this, make the product ID as my primary key. Okay, and the product ID itself, I'm saying that it should be an integer. So you can see I've specified int here, and I've specified the number, the length of the integer it should be, which should be 11. So if the product ID name or the product ID exceed 11, it will give me error because I've set that the size. I've already set the size of my product ID. Okay, and the name too is a character value. Okay, it's a character value, and I also set the length. The quantity in stock, I said it should be integer. The unit price, I set it to be a decimal. That is, it can be float or any other thing. And then I've set my product ID to be the primary key. Okay, so that is what so this is what I'm actually interested in. I'm actually interested in a table where I'll have a product ID, name, quantity in stock, and unit price. So I want a table that will be like this, where I'll have product ID like this, and then I'll have name, then I'll have quantity in stock, quantity in stock, and the last one I'll have unit price. Okay, so the last one, so this is what I want the table to be. So I want my table to be this way, so that I can input my values inside. Whatever I want to insert, I can insert it inside. So this is how I actually want the table to be. Okay, this is how I want my table to be. So I'm telling SQL that, okay, create my table for me. And then in my table, first of all, create first column to be the product ID. Create the second column to be the name. Create the third column to be quantity in stock. And create the last column to be unit price. And with all this, I said if you set the product ID as integer, set this one as character value, set this one also as integer, and set the unit price as a decimal now, because the unit price could be maybe $2.5, $3.5. So it's understandable how I'm making it a decimal. Okay, so that is what we are doing. All right. So now this one is I'm just setting the engine of the database. So it's haven't, but for me to insert things into my database, I now have to use the insert command. Okay, I have to use the insert keyword. So if you look at it over here, let me give a space so that you can see. Here, I'm now trying to insert things into the product table. I've already created a table name as products, and then I'm trying to insert things into the product table. So the first thing I'm inserting is I said that insert into, then I quote the products table, and then I'll now bring in the value. Now I can equally do this as I can just say that insert into product table, and then I'll bring it the first column. I'll open another down. I'll rather bring it down, and then I'll say that the values, and I'll put the values there. Okay, so there's nothing wrong if they are all on the same line or they are on the next line. So far as this semicolon is not there, it means that the query has not ended. So as soon as you bring your semicolon, it means that you've ended. Sorry, you ended the query with your semicolon. So this is how we can insert value into our database. The first one, insert into product, then the value. Insert into product, then. Now you note that over here I specify that the first one should be the product ID, the second one should be the name, the third one should be the quantity in stock, and the next one should be the last one should be unit price. So over here you can see that the product ID, because it's a primary something, it's a primary key, it's a unique, it has to be unique to all other columns. Okay, so you can see that the first one I said okay, the product ID should be 1. The name should be this. The name should be this. And then quantity in stock is this. Okay, and now I'm now specifying the unit price. The unit price is 1.21. So that is what I'm specifying. So I just do the same thing throughout to all of them. Just do the same thing, run it throughout, and then once that all of them are set, I'm okay with everything. I've been able to input all the information, insert everything into the product table. I'll just close it. Okay, so this is how we do and create the database. So for you to create any other database, it's just follow the same thing. There's no difference in all of them. You just follow the same procedure to create all the databases that you are creating. And once that you are done with the insert information, you can now run the query to have your database being created. So let's just run this. I've created the first table. Okay, let me just select all of them and run. Let me select my first table, the product table. So it ends here. So I'll just select the product table and run. As soon as I run it, it should create a table inside the DA store for me. So I'll just run it. So everything is successful. So as soon as I refresh this, I should have, you can now see that the table has now been given this particular arrow, indicating that there is a table inside the table folder. So as soon as I click on down, I can now see my product ID. So the product ID is now inside. Sorry, the product is now inside. And when I open the product data table, I can see the columns, the index, and others. So let me open the columns. You see the columns that we have the table product ID, name, quantity in stock, and then unit price. Those are the columns that we specify over here. Okay, that is that. So that is how we create database. Okay, that is how we create database. There are database and tables inside your database. So all that I will do is that it just follow the same procedure for the creation of the others. The next table that I created over here is the shippers. The next is customers. We have the order status, the order, and then other items. Okay, so all that you have to do is that just run all of them together. Let's just run all of them so that we get a complete tables inside our database. So I'll just run everything, and then it will run from beginning to the end. So now everything is now working. So if I refresh this, I should get a table, any other good. So as soon as I refresh it, I can now have, you can see that inside the table we have the customers table, order item notes. Then we have the order ID, order item, the order status, the order, the product, the shippers. All of them are all tables inside our database now. And then when I open any of them, I open the column, I should see the columns of each of them. So that is how we create database and create a table inside our database. Okay, so that is just that. Okay, that is just that. Now I'll just leave this particular one and I'll open new editor, or you can clear everything away and then you start now using this particular database. There will be nothing wrong with it. However, when you finish and you want to restore the database back to the same database that you are using, you just need this code and then you run it back and then everything will be. So once my database is now created with all the tables inside, I don't need this code again. So I'll just highlight everything and clear it away. So now all those codes is gone. Now I have my query so that we can now start using our database. So the first thing that we want to learn is we want to use how to retrieve data from this particular database that we created. We have created a database, but how do you retrieve data from the database? How do we get tables, the tables that we created from the database? So what we use is that we use the select clause. The select clause, what the select clause does is that it selects your database for you. It selects the number of rows or whatever number of columns you want to select, the number of columns you want to select, and it's always work with the from statement. The from statement helps you to identify the particular table that you want to select from. Now, this is the tables that we have. We have this particular table. The customers, we have the customers, the other items and stuff. So let's just select only the customer table and see what the customer table contains. So what we will do is that we use the select clause, and then with the select clause, what happens is that when you use the select clause, it's either you put asterisk here. What that means is that you are trying to tell the MySQL that, oh, okay, what I want to select, the table I want to select all columns for me. The star over there signifies for all columns to be selected. So it means that it will bring out all the columns inside that particular table. Okay, so select all, and we are saying that from. Then we use the from statement. Okay, from. Now the from here, it's asking us for which of the table do you want to select from. You can see that this particular database contains a lot of tables. So which of the tables do you want? The table I want will be the customers table, and then I'll put semicolon there, signifying that I've ended that particular query. So once I run it, it will select the customer table for me. So let me close this and open it again. So that's good. I don't want that feedback to be shown. So once you do this simple query has selected everything in the customer table for us. So we can now see that the headings, we have the customer ID, the first name, last name, birth date, phone, address, city, state, and points. So this simple query has selected everything for us. What if we don't want all the columns to show? We just want a specific columns. Let's say that we only want to see the ID, the first name, the last name, the phone number, and maybe their points. We don't want to know the city, the state, the address, and so forth. How do we do that? What we do is that instead of specifying star over there, you write the column's name that we want. So the first column I want to be is the customer. So I want the customer ID. So I'll put it there. And then comma. The next one I want is the first name. I want the first underscore name. That is how it's written in the database. The next one I want is last underscore name, comma. And I also want their points, the points of each of them. So the last one is points. Once you are done with the last one, you don't need to bring comma again. So I can now run this particular query. So let's look at let's see, we have address, we have phone number, we have birth date, we have city, we have state. But let's see if this query will bring all of them back again. Good. As soon as you run, it shows that it takes away only those that we have selected. And what it does is that it arranges them according to how the pattern that you choose, the pattern you choose from in your select statement. So the pattern was customer ID, first name, last name, and points. Let me interchange the first name and last name, and let's see what will happen. So I want customer ID, then I say last name, then comma. The last name, now you can see that it has interchanged. So now we now have customer ID, last name before even first name. So based on how you specify these statements in your select statement. That will determine the arrangement of your output. Okay, so that is how we use the select statement. Okay. Another thing that we want to do is that with the select statement, we can do so many other things inside. Let's assume that over here, this particular select statement, I want to create another point. Let's say I want to create another column here. I want to add another column. And with that column, let's say I want to add a discount point for all of them. Maybe I want to add additional points. Okay. So what I will do is that I'll just put comma here. Okay. This comma, then I'll say points, and then points plus. Let's say I want to add maybe 2020 to each point. Okay, so plus 20. So once I do plus 20 and I run, it should give me another column, which will name it as point plus 20. Okay, so you can see that we have the point, the original point, and now it has added 2020, 2020 to each of them their point, and name it, give the name of the column as point plus 20. This is not professional. Point plus 20 is not professional. So what I will do, I will change the name of this particular, and that is where something comes in as alias. Okay, we alias it to the new name. That is, we alias it to a new name. So with the alias, what we do is that, so this one I'll just say as, so I'm trying to rename this particular, only this one. This one, I'm renaming only this one. So I'm saying that point plus 20 as, then maybe new point. So maybe I'll name it as new underscore points. So once I run it, the only thing that it will do is it will change the headings over here as point plus 20 to new points. So this is what we see. So you can see we have new points now, and then we are having our the points which are 20 plus the original point. So that is the select and then the from statement. Now, one thing too that you need to take note of is that when you are using this, if you are writing the statement and it's too long for you, you can break it down. Okay, so for example, I can decide to break it down, each of them by 1. So then I'll use tab to identify it so that they all start from maybe somewhere, maybe something like this. So all of them, just break all of them down. And then nothing will happen, it will run. Once that you put it this, maybe I want the codes to be more readable. So I can do it this way, and then I'll still get the same result. Nothing will change. All right. Now let's move a bit further. Okay, let's move a bit further. Let's add another statement to these two statements. The statement we want to add right now is the where statement. Okay, we want to add the where statement. So now all that I want to do is that I want to select from the customer table. Okay, but I want to select these names, the customer ID, last name, first name, point plus 20. But I want to only select the points, and then let me clear this away. And then I want to only select customers that are having higher than 2,000 points. So you can see that these are the points that we have in our customer table. We have some as low as 205, 457. But I want to select only customers that are having points above 2,000. So what I'll do is that I'll put that is the where statement counting. Okay, and then I'll say points greater than, then I'll specify 2,000, then comma. Once I run this, it should filter for me. So it will now filter and only return customers with points greater than 2,000. So this is where the where statement also work. Okay, so if you want to filter to get a specific range, this is where you work. Similarly, I can say that where point is greater or equal to. So once I say greater or equal to and I run, it means that it's either they are all greater or they are equal to. Okay, so it will select from and it return the same list, signifying that these are the only people inside with the point that way. Now, another way is that if I want to select the opposite of this, maybe I want to select people that are having points less than this particular statement. Okay, maybe I want to select people that are having less than this statement. All that I will do is I'll just change the statement to less than. Okay, point less than, and I should get the opposite of that. Good. So this is what we have. In MySQL or in SQL, we have the operators. We have the less than, the greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. We have the equal to itself, and then we have not equal to. The not equal to is the one with where we can use the exclamation mark or the equal to. So we say that not equal to, then we put the equal to sign like this. So once we specify this, it means that we are saying that you should select points that are not equal to those that are not equal to this particular 200 for us, 2000 for us. Here you can see it's returning everything for us. The reason why it's returning everything is that we are saying that it should return everything, but the points that are not equal to 2000. So there's no point inside that is equal to 2000. Let's pick this point, the one with the first one. So we have 22773. So let's run it and see what you get if it will return that one to for us. Let's see. So you can see that clearly it has filtered that one out. So we say that it should return points that are not equal to this particular. And that one, the first one that we had was that point was equal to this, so it will return that one. So that is how we use the if the clause, the where clause in our SQL. Let's go a bit further, okay? And then let's just say that we want to select everything. So let's use a select. So let's see select, and then we want to return everything from the customer table. So customer, so the customers table, and now we want to filter with birth dates. Okay, so you say, well, then we now specify birth underscore date. So we want to filter people that are having that their birth date is less than a particular date. And in SQL, we specify dates by, we have year, that is Y, and then we have MN, and then we have DD. So we have the year, the month, and then the date. So let's say I want to specify return people that are having their birth date less than, let's say 2000, then hyphen maybe first, that's the first month, hyphen first day, and then let me close it and put semicolon there, and let me run this and let's see what we get. So it's returning that now, which means that there is no one with this particular birthday. Let me change this to 1990 and see what 990 1990, and let's see what it will return. So now we now have people that are having their birth date greater than, okay, greater than this particular date. So it's returning. So you can use the where clause to return a date value as well. Okay, you can use the where clause to return a date value as well. All right. Now let's combine two operators together. in the where clause, let's try to combine 2 points together. So we now say that it should return this one. Let's add the points. Okay, over here we can also see the points. So let's return only people with points greater than a particular value. So I said where birth date is greater than this, and then I want to use the or. So with the or statement, what the or does is that it should check the two of them. Okay, it should check the two statements. If one is correct, it should return. Okay, if one is correct, you return. And then we have the end statement. The end statement makes sure that both have to be correct before it returns something. Okay, so that is how. So the or, then we say or, and then we choose the points. So now I want to say that points should be greater than 500, and then I want to close this. So it will now return all customers. All customers. The reason why it's returning all customers, even with people with less points than this particular thing, is that, as I explained earlier, it's checking. So it check for this. Is this correct? If it is correct, it will return. Or it will come and check this. So what the or statement does is that the two statements that you've given, once one is correct, it will return the answer. It doesn't need to check to see whether the two of them are correct before. It will just check once one of the statements is correct, it will return a result. So that is what the or statement does. Now, if we use the end, let's use end. Okay, let's say end. So with the end statement, both have to be correct. So you can see that it's now returned only two columns only two rows for us, signifying that the two of them all have to be correct. That is, both statements must be correct. If one statement is correct, and the other is not correct, it will return an answer. So with the end statement, when you are using the end operator, it makes sure that both sides have to be correct before a result is returned. If one is correct and one is not correct, it will return that particular one. So with the end statement, it's return both that it makes sure that both have to be correct before. Okay. Let's use another thing that we can use with the where statement is the in statement. Okay, is the in and not statement. For example, let's say that I'll specify this particular thing, but I want to return those values that are not in this particular range. Okay, they are not in this particular range, meaning I want to return the opposite of these two. I want to make sure that these two, we are return the opposite of them. So the IDs are 6 and 9. So maybe I don't want these two. So what I will do is that I'll put this in quotes and brackets, and then I'll use the not statement. So I'll say where not. I'll say where not, and then I'll run. Once I run it, it will give me the opposite of this result. So you can now see. So you can check that the ID number 6 and 9 are not part of this. They are the only ones that fit these conditions. Okay. So now, as soon as I use where not over here, means that I'm saying that return the where this one birth date less than greater than this particular and point greater than this one are not part of that particular statement. So that is what the not also does. Okay. We also have the in statement. For example, if I want to return people and then in a particular geographical area, let's say we have states here. Okay, so we are having the states names MA, VA, CO, FL, and we are having this particular statement. So let's say that I want to use the in statement here. What I'll do is that maybe I want to return only people from a particular geographical area. So I'll say in, so where in, and then maybe I want the first one. So I'll put I'll just, because it's a character value, I'll put quote and then MA, close it. And then I want another one. The second one, I want to return VA. that one too, I will close it. Maybe I also want to return the TN. So I'll open another code and say TN and close it. So these are the only thing that I want to return. Okay, these are the only thing that I want to return. So okay, so sorry, we didn't specify the state names. Where states? So where states? Good. So here I have to specify the state name. Where states in? Good. So it's, you can see it will run for us nicely. So we are saying that where states, the state is in these areas. So you can see that we have the MA, the B, and the T. Those are the only thing that is returned for us. So that is how we also use the in statement. You need to, when you use the where clause, where state, and then we see that state in, then we put it in brackets, and then we specify the range, what we want to return. That is how the in statement also work. There is another one that we can also use with the where statement, that is between. Okay, so let's assume that I want to return candidates or customers with that has a particular point. Let's say their point is from 500 to 1500. So I want to return only customers that are having those particular points. So I will say the same it's just the same select statement, the from statement, then I'll now have points, because I want to return only customers that are having points from 5,000 to, or they are within 5,000 to 1,500. So I'll use the between statement, So once I say between, then I'll specify the point. The first one is, I say 500, and I'll use the end statement. From here, end 1,500. As soon as I run this, it should return only customers that are having their points between this range. So once you run it, you can now see. So it's only those that are below 500 are not passed. Those that are above 1,502 are also not passed. So that's how the between and statement also works. There is also one statement again that we use with the where statement. That is the like statement. Okay, with the like statement, it works like in Excel when we have the left and right functions. So the like statement also just work like that. But in this case, it works with the percentage symbol. Okay, it works with the percentage symbol. For example, let's say I want to return a particular name, but in this case, the name I want it a name that is ending or that begins with a particular character. Okay, and the rest of the characters that follows, I don't care what it is. Maybe I want a name that begins with R. Okay, but the rest of the characters that follow, I don't care what it is. So what I'll do is that I'll put all of them in quotes and I'll say B, and I'll add the percentage sign to it. Once I add the percentage sign to it, any name that begins with B followed by any other character, it will return all of them. So let's give it a try. So that is what we do. So you see, I'll say that maybe I'll choose the first name, select customers from customer table, where first name. Okay, so where first name, then I'll use the like, where first name like, open my listing, and then I want to start with R. Okay, I want to start with, and then I'll put the percentage sign there, close it, and then this is what I want. So I want it to return where name first name like this. So once I run it, it's showing that it's only one customer that has their first name starting with R. Okay. What if I want to return a name that we have maybe M in between, anywhere between? Okay. With that case, you put the M between the two percentage signs. This one shows that, okay, from the beginning, we don't care what is there. And then we don't also care what ends it. But make sure you return a name that is having M inside. Okay, so that is what it does. So you can see that all first names that are having M inside are being returned. So the first one you have M inside, the second one you have M, the third one you have M. So that is what this one also does. Similarly, if you also want to return a name where a particular character is ending, you start with a percentage, and then the character that you want to return, you expect to end would be the last one. Let's say we have a character such as Y. So I'll just put first percentage and put Y there. In this case, I'm saying that it should return first name where Y is ending the first name of that particular person. So you can see that this particular one like this, it's Y that is ending. So that is how the like statement work with the where clause. Now let's go back and return everything from the customer table, and then let's move forward and see what else we can do. Now when you check the customer table, we see we have the phone number area as well. So let's say that I want to return the phone numbers. Okay, let's say I want to return the phone numbers, and with the phone numbers, we can see that there is one person without any phone number. So let's say that I want to return only customers. Maybe I want customers. So if I want to call my customers, with the one without phone number, I can't call the person. So what I will do is I will filter for customers that are having phone number and take away customers that are not having phone number. Okay. So maybe I'll say phone where phone is. So first of all, let me inspect those with now numbers. Okay, where phone number is now, it means that, and let me see those people that it will return. So it's returned one person, showing that this particular person is not having phone number. So I now know that particular person. So it means that I can just take it out. Okay, so if I want to return only the ones that are not having the ones that are having phone numbers and take away those that are not having phone numbers, I'll just use, instead of is now, I'll use is not now. So once I type is not now, it's up to it to return only people with phone numbers. It will return only people with phone numbers. That is how we also, one thing that we can also use with the where clause. Okay. Now let's move a step further. Another clause that we can use is that after the where clause, there is another clause that we use with our statement to do our selections, is the order by. Let's say we want to order by a specific arrangement. Okay, we want to arrange in maybe ascending, descending order, or we want to arrange in a particular order. We want to filter in a particular order. In this case, we use the order by statement. Okay, the order by statement. So I want to order by points. Okay, so I want to select the whole of the customers table, and then I want to order by points. And let me see. So I'll say order by, and then I'll say points. So I'll just close it. So once I run it, automatically in SQL, once you say order by and you didn't specify the arrangement method, give it to you in ascending order from smallest to highest. It will give it to you, it will arrange your whatever you want to do from smallest to highest. Now, let me comment this. If you want to comment in SQL, you just double hyphen and then you give space. That is all. So you comment. So now let me run this. Now you can see that it has ordered it in a particular way on its own. And the way that it orders it is that it arranges it based on the primary key, the unique identifier, based on the primary key. So it arranges it based on with the primary key, and that is 1, 2, 3 up to 10. So that is how it arranges it based on the primary key. Okay, but let's say I want to sort by this one, so that I want to know from smallest to highest the order. That is where the order comes in. So we are trying to ignore this particular ordering system and order it in our own way. So once we bring in the order by, so now it's now having from smallest to highest. If we want to specify from highest to smallest, then we need to override it. This particular way is the system's code. So automatically it arranges it from lowest to highest for you. What if I want to specify it? I want to order it from highest to lowest. That is where we use the descending function. And the descending, in this way, we use the descending order. We say we write DESC, okay, to specify that we want it to be ordered from highest to lowest. And once we run this, the arrangements will change. So you can now see that the biggest point is now the first one, followed by the second biggest, in that order to the smallest. Okay, so that is how we do arrangement if we want to order by anything. Okay, it's not only integer value that we can order. We can also order by the state and stuff. It will still arrange. Or you can do the ordering with multiple columns. It will still work. So let's assume that I want to order by state. Okay, so I can order by, then you just put state there. So once you order by state, it's up to order it by state for you. So you can see that this is ordering by character for you. That is it. I can order by two things, maybe the state and then maybe first name. Okay, so first underscore name. So here it will order by first name for you. So you can see it will, if at a point in time there are two things inside. For example, the state is the first one. If there are two people from the same state, what SQL will do over here is that it will jump the state and now go and order those two by their first name. So let's look at something. We have two people coming from Florida. Okay, we have two people coming from Florida over here. And then when you look at it, it doesn't know how to arrange by this one. So what it will do is that it will now go, because we have a second ordering method, it will go to the first name of those two people and go and order those two people by first name. So you can see it will order by first name before it will move on. So if the first one is conflicting, it moves to the second one to go and order by the second one. So that is how the order by also works. The next clause that I want us to look at is that the limit clause. Okay, now this is a small database. Let's say we have like tons of data sets, rows in our database. Now, if we want to return everything, we may crash our system. So one way that we can suppress and return only a few of them to inspect is using the limits. So we suppress the return function so that it will return only a specific or a specified number of rows for us. So let's assume that I want to return only 5 rows. So what I will do, I will use the limit, and then I'll just type 5 and close it. So I'm saying that, okay, select from everything from the customer table, but make sure you limit it to only 5 rows for me. So it will return only 5 for us. So that is the limit function as well. Okay. Now, there is also another tricky way over here, the return function. Okay. The return functions can be used to skip a particular rows, a number of rows, and then return a particular number of rows. So let's see that the first one, let me just type something first. So 5, comma, and then maybe 3. Okay, let's just write this and see what's happening. Okay, so what is happening over here is that the limit function, what it's doing over here is it's skipping the first 5. So it's jumped the first 5, and now after the first 5, it returned 3 in that order. So the first 5, it skipped them, and then now start counting from after 5, which is 6, and then 6, 7, 8, 3, and then it cuts it there. So that is how this is a skip statement that you can use to skip a certain row. For example, if you are working in the database and then you want to skip, you have page 1, let's say page 1 return like 10 columns, page 2 also return 10, let's say all pages to return 10 columns. So you want to skip page 1 and page 2 and return only people on page 3. One of the ways that you can do is that you know that page 3 returns 10, page 2 also return 10. So you skip 20 and then you now come and return from 21 to 30, showing that those are for page 3. So that is one of the ways that we can use this to help us. Now, I want you to know this. In SQL, you see the way we are putting the orders in place. Should you want to put all the orders together, this is how the format that it works is that the first statement that's supposed to come is the select statement. The second one that comes is the from statement. The from statement. So the from statement, the next one is where statement. After the from statement, you go to the where statement. Then you go to the order by statement. Then after the order by statement, we then go to the limit statement. So you see, it follows in that order. If all of them are to come in one query, we follow that order. We follow that order. So that is how we use this in SQL. That's how the order in which our statements follow. Okay. So I want us to look at the join statement. The join statement is so good, it's so powerful that in SQL, when you have maybe, for example, we have many tables here. If we want to join, maybe we want to join the customers table with the order table to see things that they have ordered, all the customers, what they have ordered, we see, because the order table contains the orders that they've made. The customers table also contains information about the customers. So if we want to know the people, let's say we want to look at things that they've ordered plus those that ordered them, we want to look at all of them together. How do we go about that? That is where we use the join statement. Okay, the join statement, we have two types. We have the inner joint and then the outer joint. With the inner joint is the same as the outer joint. The join. So you can just say inner joint or just join. So once you use either join or inner joint, it's just the same thing, return the same thing. The outer joint is then divided into two, where we have the left or the right joint. So let's look at the inner joint and then let's see. Let's say that we want to now join the order table with that of the customer table. Let's say we have our customers, everything just as we have the customer table right now. Now we want to do the join them to the order table. So first of all, let's see what is in the order table as well. So select, and then we see everything from. So we now see the orders. Okay, so you want to select everything in the order table. So from the order table, we can now see that we have the order ID, the customer ID, the order date, the status, the comments, the ship date, and then the ship ID. So these are the things that we have in the order ID. Okay. One thing that we can note over here is that we have a customer ID also here. Okay. This is telling us that this particular column is now a foreign key over here. The primary key in the order table is the order ID. The foreign key becomes the customer table. It is linked to the primary key in the customer table. So this is how the system is working over here. So you have the foreign key in the customer table linking to the primary key in the customer table. So if we want to join this particular table to the customer table, it means that we have to leverage on this column, the customer ID, because these are the things that you can see here. You can also see it in the customer table. So let's try to join the customer table with this particular one. So I'll say that select everything from the customer table. So you see customers, and now I want to do join. So I'll just write join. As I said, you can either choose to write inner join or join. All of them is just the same thing. So I'll use join. And then now I want to join the customer table to the what do you call it? The order table. So here join order orders. Okay, so orders. And now I want to join. If you want to join, how do you want to join? On what basis do you want to join the two tables? As I said earlier, they have a unique ID. Both of them are having the customer ID. So I want to join on the customer ID. So what I'll write is I'll write on. So join the customer table to the order table on. Okay, now and then I'll now write order. Okay, orders dot. Okay, now I'll specify the column name, which is customer ID equal to. Then I'll also I'll write the customers dot customer ID, because I also have the customer ID inside that particular table as well. So here I'm saying that, okay, join the customer table to the order table, okay, on this basis. Wherever in your order table, when you see customer ID, equate it to the customer table, the customer ID in the customer table. So that is what that's what we are trying to do here. Okay, so let's run this. And now we can now see. Now it's bringing the customer table first, because that is what we choose first. That's the first table that we are selecting from. So the customer table, it brings everything in the customer table and now join it to the customer ID over here. So wherever it sees the customer ID, it joins them according to. So the first one, 6, is the customer ID over here to 6. So this, from this place to the last part, is now the order table. So it's now joined the two tables together for us. Now if I interchange this particular thing, maybe the order comes first before the customer, it will bring the order table first before the customer table. Now there's one way to make this very simpler. That is, as I said earlier on, using the alias. Okay, for example, this particular customer, I don't want to repeat the customer here again. The order, I don't want to repeat the order here again. So I can just say that select from the order, the customer table as maybe then customer name, then as C. And when I come here to, I can see as maybe O. So once I choose these things, when I come here, instead of the orders, I will see O dot customers. And when I come here to C dot customers. So when you run this, you should get the same thing. So that is the same thing that we are getting. So here I'm just saying that, okay, from this table as this, and from this table as this. So that is how we use the join statement as well. Okay, so you use the join to just join two tables together. Okay, with that of the outer joint, the outer joint is either the left or right joint. With the left joint is just as the outer joint, and then the right joint, it just gives the opposite of the left joint. So the opposite of the left joint, that is what the right joint does. So let's use the left joint to just join this same table. Okay, let's join by this same table, and then let's see. So instead of me to change anything, I'll just say that I'll just let me just copy the same thing here and then paste it down. So instead of using just join, I'll type left join. Now let's take note of, you see, it makes sure that this table is being represented first. This table is being represented first before even coming to the other table. Now if we use the left joint, the right joint for this, if you use the right joint for it and run it, you see it's just like the first one we have over here, the normal joint. So it's return the opposite of the left joint. So that is what the when you take the two outer joint, the outer joint, that is left and right joint, the right joint always return the opposite of the left joint, and that one, it returns from starting from the right table. Okay, so what is happening over here is that it's now going through this table first, even though this table is the one that is specified at the top. This table is the one that is specified. It goes through this particular table and makes sure that, okay, this table equals this particular table, and link the two of them together first before returning any other thing. So it look at the customer ID, those that are true, those that are this one, these statements are true first. So from the right to the left, these two statements must be true. These two statements must be true first. So once those ones are returned, before the rest follows. So if you look at this particular down here, you realize that those custom, we want to look at another and we want to look at, out of all these things, there is also another statement that we can use, another clause we can use, where we can ignore this kind of on statements, where we can ignore the on statement. So let me just go back to, let's just use the normal join statement, and then let's bring it down. Okay, so let's bring this is what we want to return. So let's rerun this and see the outcome. Now this is the outcome that we have over here. Now let's, instead of us to use this particular, the two of them, instead of us to use the customer order.customer ID and so on and so on, we can equally just use only customer ID and forget about the on statements, where we will use something like this, where we will say join these two. Okay, and then I will forget about the alias. I'll forget about the alias, and then I'll say that, okay, return these two, join the order. Okay, then I'll say, okay, I'll use it, and I'll open brackets and paste and type the customer ID, because the customer ID is found in these two customers. So if I run it, it will return the same thing for me. Good, it will just return the same thing, because the number of the columns are located in the two of them. So all that it does over here is that it just returned the customer ID for me. Okay, so that is how we use the using statements. You can use the using clause to also return the same thing as the on that we are using. Okay, so let's see. We want to update our database. What if we want to update the database? Let's say we have this particular, we want to, the customer table, all the points inside, we want to update the points. So we want to make sure that all our points are being updated by a specific number. How do you do that? Or let's say that, okay, we want to give bonuses. If you were born after 1990, we want to give you additional points of 100. Okay, the way we can do that is using the update clause, where we can update the table. So that being said, let's select from the customer table. Let's select everything from the customer table. So customer, we have the customers. Now you can see that this is showing some kind of error. The reason why it's showing that this particular statement, I have not ended. So once I start another statement, it will indicate this particular this. If I run everything to give you, but if I select only this and run, it won't do anything. So it's always good that when you finish your statement, you end it like that. So I want to run only this and select the customer. Good. Now over here, we can now see this particular. Let's filter with the where statement. Okay, let's filter with the where statement, where you get those that were born after 1990. So let's say where birth date is less than, so 1990 with this particular this way. Okay, so we want people, let's return this one. So you can see these people were the ones that were born, okay, their birth year was less than this particular one. So let's say we want to add certain points to this particular people. We want their point to increase. The way we can do that is that we would use the update function. So we can update it and add certain numbers. Let's say we want to add 100 to 100 points to their point. Okay, so one way we can do this is we can either create a new table and then add a new column and add their 100 to their point, or we can update this particular point. Okay, and doing so, we will say that, okay, we use the update function. Okay, update, what do you want to update? You want to update the customer table. So customers, and then you want to set points plus 100. Okay, and then we will now bring in this where statement, because we don't want to add the point to all of them. So we say this, and then let's run this. Good. We get some kind of error. So let's see what is happening. Okay, we didn't select all the updates. So one thing you also have to note always is that when you write this and you are selecting, if I select this way, the first one I select this way, the U is not part. I didn't select the U. It will give me an error. So once you are selecting, you have to make sure that you select everything. Okay, so that is one thing you need to take note of. All right. So another error again. Let's see where the error is coming from. It says that update customer point where this particular date. Okay, you are using save update mode and you try to update table. Okay, so the reason why I'm getting the error is that I'm using save update mode. Okay, I'm using save update mode, and then that is why I'm getting the error. But if you are not using the save update mode, this is how you should you use the update table for it to work. Okay. Now there's one function that you always use as well, and that is the distinct. Okay. Now when we select from the, what do you call it, the customer table, let's reselect it and see. There was one of the table with two people from the same state. Okay, so for example, so we have this one and this one. Okay, now let's assume that I want to only return states that are unique. Okay, I don't want to return the duplicate. So if in one way I can do that is using the unique. Okay, the unique. So for example, I will specify that one here. So I will say select, then I say distinct. Okay, distinct. So I'll use the distinct function, and now I'll now write state. So it means that I want to select from the states, but I only want to return only distinct states. So any duplicate will be taken care of. If I don't use the, let's say I don't use the distinct and I return the state, let's see what happens. So I'm not using the distinct, I return this. Now you can clearly see that it returned this one and this one, even though it's represented here. This one is just returning all the states. But as soon as I put distinct inside, it's returning only states that are distinct. If there's a duplicate, it doesn't return those duplicates. It just remove those duplicates and then move on. Okay, so that is one way we can use filter duplicates away. Okay, all right. So these are the basics or the basics and other stuff about SQL. And then once you master these skills, you should be able to manipulate your database. You should be able to write query and then access data from your databases. Okay. Now all these put together, when you put all these together, for example, when you have a data set and you get the data set into your SQL table or maybe your database that you've created, and then you want to access the data set, all these queries put together will help you be able to get access to the data set and know what is happening in the data set. And then the next thing that you move on to do would be to clean the data, that to try to remove any duplicates, join different tables together so that you can be able to analyze your data sets. Okay. Now in our next in our next tutorial on this, we will look at how we can clean data, how we can perform exploratory data analysis using SQL, how we can combine multiple data tables together, just as we have learned now. We will move on to the data cleaning process and data manipulations, and then we will complete a project on how using SQL to analyze a real world case where we can analyze data completely with SQL. Okay, so that is what will be our next lesson. That is what we are going to look at. We will look at, first of all, we cleaning of data, exploring the data, and then completing a project. So that is what we will look at. And as we move on to do all these things, you will see that we will be coming across, we will be putting all these things that we just learned together. All the clauses that we've learned, we will be putting all of them together to develop maybe a lengthy clause or to develop a lengthy query where we can use them to analyze our data, because it will always be on top of each other. So that is how we analyze our data. So on this note, we would end today's class here, as we have covered all the basics and intermediate queries in MySQL. And in our next episode, we would look at the data cleaning process in SQL, and then how you can complete a project in a data analytic project in SQL. And finally, I want to thank everyone for staying up to this stage, for staying with me up to this stage. I will encourage you to continue joining the class and learning and keep on learning. Should you face any difficulties, don't hesitate to reach out to me, or don't hesitate to ask in the comment section or in the on our WhatsApp page. I'll do well to address all of them. Lastly, remember to share the link with your friends. Invite your friends to like the video and share with your friends. Remember to inform them to subscribe to the channel as we progress, so that we all learn and form a good community of data analysts and data scientists together. The Lord be with you and stay blessed. Bye-bye.